So we are live, currently streaming to YouTube. Let me share this link. How do I do that? Settings. No. Edit. No. I don't think I can share the link. Maybe if I go directly on the YouTube via my phone. Yes, I can. Share, copy link. All right, let me tweet out this link.
Tweet.
Dope. All right, here we go.
Let's do it.
Hello and welcome, disc golfers, to the Hitting the Line podcast. I am your host, Jad, and as per usual, I am joined by my brother, Nasdog. Nas, how you doing, Brody?
What's up, Jad? I am enjoying kind of the post-tournament bliss you sometimes feel after our tournament this past weekend, but not as much as you.
You're blissful after your performance?
Yeah, there's some good things that happen. You know, the score was not the best part of that day, but I had some highlights, so I'm pretty happy, excited to be throwing discs. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that.
Dope. I'd like to hear about your good takeaways.
Welcome to what is it? We were season 2, episode 3.
3, yes, sir.
I didn't realize our last episode was the second episode of the second season, which we released on 2/22/22.
Did we?
Yeah.
What? I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, I realized that like when we post, I was like, oh yeah, season 2, episode 2.
Season 2, episode 2. Fuck.
We made it happen. Yeah, but we couldn't make any of this happen, of course, without our sponsors. I'm gonna give them a quick shout out. Prizepicks. If you have never been to Prizepicks, please go to prizepicks.com or app.prizepicks.com. They are the one and only place that we know of that are offering some action on disc golf. So if you like to have a good time and maybe spend a little money doing some gaming, go to prizepicks.com and you can use the promo code HTL for hitting the line. That's HTL, and they will match you up to $100 on your first deposit. So please go ahead and check them out. Use promo code HTL, and you can play with us this week. Also, I would like to shout out a couple of our new sponsors. We have Till Death Disc Club. You can see I've got my hat on right here for all those who might be watching. Till Death Disc Club. There's someone who I think they just started this past year, and they are a disc golf brand focused on providing stylish gear like this for on and off the course. Till Death represents the appreciation and love that all disc golfers have for our sport. Their motto, disc golf for life, till death. I love that motto. That's a cool one. And our other sponsors, you can see by this fly piece of gear I got on here, my hoodie, is Dark Ace Apparel. Established in 2020 from St. Louis, Missouri. We have Dark Ace Apparel with their motto, play disc golf, listen to metal. And what they do is merge two of my favorite worlds, metal and disc golf, in a way that resonates with those like myself, like George, who love to headbang as much as we love to chain bang. Welcome to the dark side of disc golf. So thank you to our sponsors.
Yes, all right. Thank you for that, Nas. So we are in Texas for the Waco Annual Charity Open. It was presented by Prodigy Disc last year. I'm not sure if it is this year. But yeah, the cool thing about Waco is it's a course that we're all familiar with. It's nicknamed the Beast. Nas, do you know the real name of it off the top of your head?
Brazos
East. Yeah.
I think is the name of the course.
Yeah. So we kind of have what I would feel like is a slight edge or maybe a spark of confidence going into this tournament as far as our prize pick selections goes, which we'll get into, because for once it's just one course. And so we don't have to study a lot. And it's one course that didn't make any changes this year at all. There's 0 changes this year to the course. So it's something that we could literally, yeah, it usually never happens, especially with players getting so much better. The courses are looking to change and be more dynamic to make them tougher or whatever it may be. So it is cool that you can, look at years past and just ride your narrative into the round on Friday of who you like and who you don't like, whether you're looking at past results or maybe you're thinking, well, who's hot right now, type of thing. So I think that's fun and unique to the tournament this week. Before we get into prize picks, Nas, do you have any people you like, any predictions this week as far as the players goes, just your current like DGPT thoughts going into Waco this week?
Yeah, I think this being Paul's first tournament back in a tournament that Paul historically does well at, I think we can expect a top 5 finish from Paul.
Besides Memorial, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's not one of the elite events, but
right.
I think we're going to see Paul do really, really well. That's my one quote lock.
I agree.
Just like tournament play, I think we're going to see him do well. I think we're going to see Rick do better than people think and better than he has done there historically. And I think we'll probably see a name or two that we wouldn't expect to see because of the type of course that this is. I think that like last year was Gavin popped off. That was one of the first tournaments Gannon popped
Nico
off
won, which was kind of
and Nico won, which some people would say is a surprise. So this is the type of tournament where I think we're going to see a couple familiar names at the top, but I think it's a time where we might see someone new or someone make a big move either early or maybe a little later to make a run. So yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
I couldn't agree more. This course has been showing us that Colton won the year before, Kona won last year. You mentioned Gavin, etc. I agree. I think I just have Paul Macbeth winning this week. I don't like to make predictions on who's going to win what tournament, but if you put a gun to my head, I have to take Paul Macbeth after the 1090s, and he is Paul Macbeth. And it's funny you mentioned Ricky, like you think he's going to do better than people would think. He took like 7th last week, and we're like, this was a down week for Ricky. Why is his putting stance changed? This and that. He like has a bad week and casually takes 7th. I think is really telling of what we expect out of him and where his game's at. So yeah, I
think Rick is going to do okay. We hear that this course is a forehand players type of course, or if you're a lefty, and like we said, historically Rick has kind of underperformed versus his rating here. But I think this could easily be the week that turns around. So
cool. I couldn't agree more. And so, I mean, we are here for prize picks. So let's get into what we got, what the lines look like, and how we feel about it, and maybe discuss some data that we have and relate that to our prize pick selections.
Yeah, let's talk about how we did last week. We had mentioned to our listeners we wanted to try to do like a bankroll challenge this year, be a little bit more official about it. And so you've got some data that you're tracking, and I've been tracking mine as well. I started off the year with $100 deposited. And last week was our first week, or our first episode, I should say. It was our first. Yeah, it's 2 weeks ago now. And I did okay. I'm up 19%. So if you can do math, that means I have $119 now. And we talked about our picks the first day, and then we tweeted and did a Twitter Spaces about our picks the next 3 rounds. And so through all 4 of those rounds, I'm up $19 with a couple of bad beats, I want to call them. In gambling, we'll have those. I had a couple entries that I thought were really, really good, but I just would miss that one on the flex or the one on the power play to really miss it. One of them was Brody. I had Brody in a lot of my lines, and it seemed like every time I took him on the over, he went under. And when I turned around and them taking on the under, he went way over. So he burnt me a couple of times. That would have, had me going a lot higher than I did. I still did good on the week, but then I had Garrett Girthy shoot a 55 when I took him on the under 54.5. That was a bummer. But overall, 20%, like we were saying before, if you have that invested in stocks and you can make 20% a week, you're crushing. So,
Massive.
Yeah, you're massively crushing. What are you sitting at? What did you start off with? Is there anybody that gave you a little bit of a bad beat?
Sure. I started off with 158. After round 1, we moved up to 178. After round 2, I went absolutely nuclear and could have swept. I went all from 178 to 338, so doubled. Overextended myself in round 3, took some bad beats down to 215, and now we're sitting at 197. The final round, I tweeted out my picks. We went, I believe it was 4 for 5 out of all of them. And of course, the one person that we didn't get, which was Kristen Tatar's under. I would call that a severe bad beat. It's like 6 women hit her total, and she wasn't one of them, which you would expect her to be scoring in the top 6 out of the women's field. So otherwise, we would have went 5 for 5 on the final day and crushed. But we were, I was over. What I want to say, I had too much Kristen Tatar, so I actually somehow ended up losing $10 despite hitting 4 out of the 5 players, which is something to mention. That shows that this really is a losing game. By nature of it, because you have to parlay. So a lot of the times you might be able to get all the selections right, but you got to do them in the right way. You got to really mix up people and not have too much exposure to one player. So yeah, I'm sitting at 197, and we have about a 26% gain. Like you said, put that in stocks, and if you gain 26% over every DGPT event, you will be crushing by the end of the year. So we just hope to keep riding something similar to that.
I'm hoping for another 20%, man.
If I don't lose, that's dope. So
yeah.
All right, so let's get into it.
We've got the board. Yeah, the board was up kind of early today, earlier than usual, and we could record a little bit earlier. And my first thought when I look at these lines is, well, first of all, there's no longer you have to go 1 over and 1 under. You can now choose all overs or all unders, whatever you want to do there. You can choose overs and unders. So par here on this course is 63, and we know it's a tougher course. So when I look out and I see 59s, I see some players with 61, a 60. There are definitely some unders that I think jump out to me. I'm really not seeing a ton of overs that you like, because when you look at someone and you think over, you're thinking like they're way overvalued, right? Or that that Prizepicks is thinking that they're going to slay some course, and you're like, yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. And our strategy for that in the past has been to take the lowest score. For example, this would be Paul Macbeth this week at 56.5 and choose the over. I don't feel comfortable doing that. I think a 57 for him is pretty, that could be likely. But I'm really thinking a lot of unders this week. What are you thinking when you first take a look at this board?
First of all, I agree 100%. I think you could consider under on a majority of the players on the board. I just want to start off by saying we think, just looking at last year's results, about a 62, a 1 down is going to be about 1,000 rated. A 60 is going to be about a 1020-ish. A 58 is going to be a 1030-ish. And a 56 is going to be about 1047, 1050. So I did compile some people I thought were must plays, some maybes, and I really think you consider maybe on a lot of them. And again, I have all unders. Prizepicks does allow us to choose all unders. They did nerf our
payouts are nerfed a little bit, right?
Yeah, payouts are nerfed a little bit because we can't choose all that. But hey, they actually added a 12x. We've never had that before. We used to only go up to 10x. But now if you mix it 2 and 3, if you have let's say 3 unders, 2 overs, and they all hit, that's a 12x. So that's interesting. You can mess with that if you want. But let's get into it. My must plays. I have Kat at a 67. She's my favorite.
Yeah, they've 67. Got her at shooting even.
Yeah, 67 even par. It was about, I believe, in the 950s or 960s for women. The reason why I'm really taking this is because if you're going to choose any of the women, they're projecting Kat to do the worst between Paige Pierce, Evelina, etc. And to me, it looks like they're just looking at the scores from last year to base that decision off of, when I really have no reason to believe that Kat, I have no reason to believe that Kat's not the fairway goddess and that she's not the most consistent women's player, because she just flat out is. We've witnessed it time and time again. The only thing that may have me nervous is that like a lot of her signature discs, a lot of discs she likes are a little flippy, and it is going to be pretty windy. We're looking at about 20 miles per hour on Friday from what I'm just seeing online. But it was Las Vegas. She was throwing them. It seemed to be fine.
She was finding the wind there. Yeah.
She's a professional. So wind is something to consider for this course all the time. We're looking at about 20 miles per hour, but these guys are professionals. And round 1 last year, we did have plenty of wind. So you have something to base that decision off of. So I got Kat right away as a standout must play for me. Do you have any must plays or people you really like?
I think Kat for sure too. That was the first one when we kind of met before we started. She's the first one that hopped out to me because when I look at last year's scores, uh, Kona won with the 16 down, and the next closest person was Owen Scoggins with -4. So either Kona played out of her mind. She shot a 10:04, a 10:10, and a 9:76, all way above her rating at the time, which was 9:27. She played completely out of her mind. But I look at a score like a 63, and Kat shot a 69 her final round last year, and that was her worst round, was a 69 928. I mean, that's a round that like I would shoot out there and be stoked on. So I know Kat is going to be looking at something probably more like, I don't know, I think she can shoot a 65 or a 66 out there pretty easily. And so I think it's not that I want to say that Kona's win was a fluke, because I don't think it was a fluke, because I think Kona has all the tools, but she just put it together in such a way that we see it can be done. And basically, I think Kat is just overall a better golfer than Kona. And I think if Kona can do it, I think Kat can do it too. And just because she didn't necessarily do it.
Kat's line is sitting at a 67, which was below her rating. So I think if she just shoots her rating, which is no reason why I don't believe that she won't, she's going to hit that under. Yeah. And then so you mentioned your favorite, and I agree with him, Brody Smith. Tell me about Brody.
Yeah, well, Brody, we had here Brody at, I believe, a 60.
61 is his line.
A 61 is his line, and that's a 2 down. And I think
so last a 60. Year, go ahead.
60. I was going to say, because last year I think Brody's worst round was, let me pull it up here.
Put it this way: if he hits his under, he only has to shoot a 10-20. That is above his rating, but Brody has been shooting well above his rating in the past year. So
yeah, I have no reason to believe. Last year his worst run was a 62. He shot a 60, a 62, and a 60, and I think Brody is at least a stroke or two better golfer than he was last year.
And all we need is
rating would tell you is about 3. So I'd say he's about 3 strokes better than it was last year. I would not be surprised to see him shoot like a 57 or a 58, a 59, and another 57.
I agree, 1,000%.
Yeah, so I think Brody and Kat, I mean, I'll probably make a power play of that tonight, before I make a flex. I'll probably just put both of them on an under and try to get my cash there, because I think that's easy.
Get that 3X.
Easy money there.
Nice. I wanted a third must play. Not nearly as convincing as the Kat or Brody. I went with Kevin Jones at 58.5.
So tell me your thinking behind Kevin Jones.
My thinking behind that is, A, he's coming off a pretty hot tournament at LVC. He played pretty well. And then just 2, he has the worst projected score out of anybody on the board. That is what we would call elite talent. Him and Hammes are both at 58.5.
Yeah.
For example, Kyle Klein is a 58. We know that half a stroke could be a big deal. Chris Dickerson's 58. I just think you're not going to find somebody with his talent at project. You get what I'm saying. I like Kevin Jones. I might be a Kevin Jones bandwagon guy. I'm not as convinced as the Kat and Brody line, but I got Kevin Jones since I decided I wanted a third must play. That's going to be my guy.
Yeah.
He's a great forehand player. We mentioned again, forehand's important on this course. Speaking of great forehand players, take me into who you convinced me on right away.
Oh yeah.
Right before we went.
My other kind of lock, someone who I definitely thought, I think I maybe have more faith in this person than I should. But that's going to be Yuli. They got Yuli at a 60, which is once again a 3 down. Last year, Yuli, I think, shot right around that or even better. Let me double check here again.
I believe he beat this line twice. You just mentioned it to me.
Yeah, he shot a 61, a 57, and a 55. So he beat that line twice convincingly. And I think a 57 or a 55 is what we should expect out of Yuli on a course like this. It's a course where he's not going to get pounded by distance. He can throw a forehand. He's accurate in the woods. And he's not someone like how you said, who's not going to shoot himself out of the tournament round 1 going OB, trying all these distance shots, doing crazy things. He's going to play smart. He's going to take his pars. I think he's someone who can scramble well. He's going to take his pars when he can. He's going to stay in bounce, get the easy birdies when they happen. And I think a 60 is that's a reasonable place for him to be at, where an under is not unlikely at all. So Yuli, I think, is my third. So I like Kat, Brody, and Yuli on the unders. And that's kind of where I would start building this week.
Yes, sir. So those are our must plays. I definitely think I like Yuli a little bit more than Kevin Jones. So maybe throw Kevin Jones in the maybe category if you want.
You had a few
And
maybes though, right?
I do have a handful of maybes, but again, I think a majority of the board is a maybe. I have Kyle Klein, maybe 58 and under and a half. Adam Hammis, Ezra. They have him only at a 59. So if he hits his under, that's a 58. It's only a 1030 rated round. Ezra typically hits 1030. So, and I also just love the fact that with Ezra's line, you can push. If 59 is only 1020-ish, 1025-ish. So you can push with Ezra's line. So I like that one on the under. I think majority of the board is under. It's going to be up to you again I think this is the tournament where you ride that narrative. If you think somebody's playing hot, you pick them. If you think Heimberg's putt is back, you pick him because he can shoot that 1050 round that you want.
Right. And I think with Ezra too, I'm looking at his scores last year, 58, 58, 61. And the 61 was more of the anomaly. It's only
there you go. So he beat it twice. And when we look at these lines, majority of these players did beat their unders at least one or two times last year. So just lean on the unders, pick who you like, which brings me to my next point. I think because there is more variance on this course, whereas last week we talked to our good friends over at Statmando, and they gave us some data to look at and for us to interpret. And we said, oh, okay, well, this makes sense because Las Vegas is a bomber course and these people have to be putting. And that's kind of who it showed would do well. And we've seen that in our picks and it worked. But this week, I think because there is so much variance on the course, I'm kind of trying to fade the noise this week. And I do want to ride my narratives and who I think is going to do well. So when I mean I'm going to fade the noise,
with your gut a little bit more on people.
Yeah. For example, Kevin Jones, he's played this event 4 times, and what we're seeing is he's averaged about a 10-15 at this course. I don't necessarily think Kevin Jones is into shooting 10-15s anymore. Of course he could. I mean, we'll see that this year. We'll see Kevin Jones shoot 10-15, but I'm not gonna. He's just got too much talent for me to want to buy into that, and I think that this is one of the times like where you want to really believe in yourself and who you think are the best players and who can beat those rounds.
Yeah, and this is sometimes where maybe playing chalk is the smart thing. Like, yeah, take that Ricky under. He's got a forehand and can scramble. It makes sense that he's going to go out there and get a bunch of birdies and hopefully avoid a bunch of pars, a bunch of bogeys. Like I said, Paul taking off and winning this thing. We're all, people are all saying Paul is going to win it. Then, well, why wouldn't you take some unders then? Why wouldn't you take, we think it's going to take a 22, a 23, or a 24 to win this thing. That's going to be 3 7 downs or 3 8 downs on average. So if that's what you're looking at Paul's line and you think that he's going to win, choose the Paul under. There's nothing wrong with that either. So
agree 100%. It's the reason why I'm taking Katrina Allen, despite her over the past 5 events averaging only 950 at Waco. So give me the 960 in the under.
Right. So let me go ahead. I'm gonna make some of these live now, just so people know it's real. I'm not out just here telling you to make picks. I'm gonna make it myself.
Dope. Well, while you do that, what else we got? Just something interesting from the disc golf world that happened this week. Maybe spark some debate. Let us know in the comments what you may think about it. Innova re-releasing. I mean, they've been doing it since the FD and the PD with the Phantom Sword and the Dark Rebel. But everybody was like, you really just released a mid-range called the Mid Disc 3 and called it the Metal Warrior instead of the Iron Samurai. Dude. So what do you think about that, Nas, while you make those picks? Yeah, let's hear it.
A couple of things I think about it. I think both ways on it. I think that, those discs were made by Innova before. They were their molds.
Innova, they literally own the patent.
Yeah, they are allowed to do that. They are allowed, I think, and I think it's great for players who want their hands on those discs. Discmania is kind of infamous for these like limited runs, and then they're impossible to get, or you got to pay $80 for, some disc. So I think it's awesome that Innova is making them available. You want an MD3? Great. You want an FD? Go out and get the Dark Rebel. Go out and get the Phantom Sword, the PD. They're available, which is awesome. But man, I think it is so corny. I think the names are terrible. I think like Innova just has their priorities messed up. It's like, man, if I was at Innova, I would get rid of 80% of the molds that they have. Just get rid of them.
What's
Stick
curious?
To good stuff. Make good stuff available.
what's curious is
so corny.
See, and I don't want to talk down on when I could be wrong. I think Kona's dad is like head of
He
marketing or
is.
something.
Yeah.
And Innova is notorious for having the worst marketing skills. And it's literally as if some stupid 18-year-old was like, mid disc 3. I don't know. Let's just call it
what's
Metal Warrior.
What's
They're
opposite of
literally
an Iron Samurai?
Metal
Warrior. It's like, it's just so corny that it's bad. I think it's a bad look for the company and just makes them look old and out of touch and like unreasonable. It's like, yeah.
I feel agree with everything you had to say. I've ordered all 3 of the discs.
You're like, I gotta say, I did order all 3 of them.
I literally this weekend, as you know, I just sold 3 used ass PDs for $100 on Facebook, and then you can buy 2. You could buy I don't know how many Phantom Swords that, but I have 2 Phantom Swords. I just bought their mid disc 3. And yeah, it'll be cool because I've never thrown an MD3. Everybody swears by it, but you can't get one unless you pay $80 on a Facebook group for an Iron Samurai or whatever Eagle's Claw is called, or I don't know what they're fucking called. But yeah, so I mean, I'm hyped to try my MD3 when it gets in here.
Don't get me wrong, I do want to try
I just added 2
Italian FD.
Those do look so crispy. They do look so crispy. But how are you going to get one? Well, somebody on Twitter I seen is going to be releasing them like next week. So you better find that in your timeline somewhere. There's someone that I follow on Twitter. I'll forward it to you if I see it. They're releasing them this week. So maybe you can get yourself on one of those.
That's like one of the few discs I like kind of nerd over.
I
don't even throw it that often, but it's just a great disc.
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm throwing Leopard 3 instead. The main difference is that the Leopard 3 is going to turn a little bit harder than I would like, whereas the the FD kind of just holds it rather than turns.
I've got 4 pre-new Discmania.
But I threw my Leopard 3 pretty darn well in the woods, uphill, nose up in the second round of our tournament that we played this weekend. Nas, how did the tournament go for you? And tell me, because you said you had some positive takeaways. It's always good. You have to leave a tournament. Anybody out there who doesn't play tournaments that often, when you play, you have to have positive takeaways from tournaments. Otherwise, they can just like eat your soul and they can walk away feeling like shit. Yeah.
Because it's so often when we go to play a course, it's easy to forget about that terrible shot, throw another one, and in your mind, you just took a birdie. But in a tournament, when every shot counts, that time you hit off a tree and go in the water turns into a 6 instead of a 3. And that kind of can ruin your round if you don't take away the good stuff. So bad news is I did lose to you in total by 2 strokes.
Let's go, Chad.
I was ahead the first round. I shot a 2 over the first round with way too many bogeys, but my putting felt relatively on that first round. I've kind of changed my grip a little bit where I bring my thumb out towards the edge just a little bit. And it's been helping with the cleaner release. So putting felt good. And I was lacing my Comet and my mids through the woods. This is a very wooded course for those listening that maybe don't know. Lake Selmac in Southern Oregon, really wooded. And I was throwing my Comet great on a couple of those like tight wooded 250 straight ahead holes with woods on both sides and trees. I was just lacing my Comet. Had some decent kind of scramble opportunities that I didn't ruin. And for me, that's good. So yeah, I took away my ability to throw mids in the woods. Got some confidence back in my putter, but just hit a few too many trees, messed up a couple too many approach shots that went for bogey instead of pars, and then I lost to you, which is the ultimate insult. So
that's right.
And I know you're ready to go. You want to talk about? You've been waiting for this. Go ahead,
dude,
tell us about your weekend. Go ahead, you've got it memorized.
I've been riding my high since I walked off the course round 2. So yeah, you said you shot a +2 on round 2,
plus 2,
which is like what,
4.
maybe like a 930 or something. The +2,
yeah, it was like 920.
So pretty tough course. I shot a +8 round 1, dead fucking last. I was in dead ass last out of 20 people. Out of 20 people after round 1,
20 AMs like us.
Everything felt foreign. I didn't feel nervous. Maybe it's nerves if there's a difference between nervous and nerves, but everything just felt really foreign to me. But I improved my score by 10 strokes, 12 strokes, 12 strokes. I improved my score by 12 strokes, went out and shot the second hottest round of the day. Shot a 4 down.
Which is hilarious because that was my exact story I told the last time. In the first round, I went out and shot like
last
3 down.
Nas did that.
I shot 12 strokes difference in between my 2 rounds, and you went out and did the exact same thing.
So I go out and shoot almost a 970 round 2. Woulda, coulda, shoulda got my 970. I had an 18-footer spit out, and I hit majority of the chains, but I did hit left side, to be fair. Hit a majority of the chains. It spud out. One time I parked a hole, but I had no look because it was wooded. So I literally had no look. It was hole 1 Nas across the street. Just judge all the way through, but I was on the left side of the basket. Nothing there. So yeah, it felt like a woulda, coulda, shoulda round. It felt really casual. Felt like I wasn't even really trying that hard. So it was nice. I literally, after the first 13 holes, had all threes. And so really what saved my round was just I made every
lack
putt.
of bogeys.
I went into the tournament thinking that putting was gonna be my worst part, but I just really locked in focus. Putting was amazing, and scrambling was by far the best part of my game. Just forehands. My forehand is at an all-time high right now, so I'm just loving it. Zones through the woods, Firebird through the wood, PD through the wood, all forehand scrambling. I'm like 200 plus feet away. There's no lines, and I'm shaping forehand S curves and landing within the circle and making my putt. So it just felt really good to be like one time I literally looked at my card. If I throw this ridiculous thumber, even though I was pinned against a tree, and then I make my like 30-footer, I go no bogeys, and I flex on them. And then the very next hole, I took a bogey. my first and only bogey of round 2.
That was one of my that was one of my positives too. Is that I don't throw a ton of forehands when I'm playing a casual round, but in the woods sometimes you have to. And I found that in the times I reached for my forehand, like hole 2, I parked it, or I got within 30 feet or 25 feet both rounds on hole 2 to that gap. Hole whatever it was, 10 or 11, where there's that side. You can go straight up the hill and like it's a super hyzer, or you can throw this little like weird backdoor forehand. My forehand was there when I needed it, which was surprising. So that was the other kind of upside. Like, okay.
Quick tip for anybody listening who doesn't play in the woods that often, or when you do, is forehand, I think, in my opinion, is generally going to give you an advantage because you can see your target. It's much easier to shape a line when you can see your target than backhand. I mean, because backhand 300 feet wide open is one thing because you have all the options. It doesn't matter how you get there as long as you get there. Whereas forehand, it's like, okay, I got to pass this tree and then fade around this one. It's much easier to line that up in your head when you can actually see it all. So in my opinion, forehand is a big advantage in the woods. And that's also why this course at Waco is probably going to be playing forehand dominant.
Yeah, I think we have to look at those players this week who you think can scramble and forehand. And so when you hear those words, oftentimes you think Rick. So I think Rick, like we said before, historically has not played great at this course, but this could be a week to maybe look at an under. So I think that when you're in the woods playing, it also takes just less body movement to throw a forehand. And if there are lots of things around you and you need to be really precise, a forehand can get you close enough. So so I didn't play great this past weekend, but I thought it was still fun. It was nice to get back out to Selmac, that of course I've played worse at before too. So to shoot a 2 and a 4 wasn't terrible. Got to limit the bogeys as always. And the second round is where I had putts that I thought should have gone in. The last 3 holes, I gave up myself 3 strokes, on 18, 19, 20. I should have had 3 easiest holes on the course, took pars. And then I missed a birdie putt on hole 1. I threw a forehand straight at it, got within 25 feet and missed it. So, there was a little bit of that towards the end when my putt was falling off a little bit, but for the most part during the week, the weekend, it was there. So.
Yes, sir. I'm hoping to at least play one more tournament soon. But I think that's about it.
Yeah, I think that wraps it up for us. One more time, shout out to our sponsors, Prizepicks. Use the promo code HTL Till Death Disc Club right here. Go and check them out on Instagram, Twitter, and of course, Dark Ace Apparel. Give them a follow on any of your social medias, and you can look as dope and fly as I do in all this gear. So holler at them. Thank you to our sponsors, and I think we'll see everyone next time. And maybe make sure to listen out for Twitter Spaces. We'll be discussing round 1 and maybe what our thoughts are for round 2. But we can't do a podcast for every round, so see us there.
Peace.